Are we live? Are we live? Yes, we are. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's doing very well. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. This is a night episode of Trade with Travis. For the people that end up popping in with me at the nighttime, thanks for being here to pop in. I do appreciate each and every one of y'all being able to at least say hey, being able to talk about what you end up doing for us your overall trading day. Please talk about your wins. It's always good to post out your wins. I want everybody in this community to be able to know that um, as we go through and as we grow and as we do everything else like that, the whole purpose is to be able to make sure that everybody can be able to win when it comes down to trading. So um, I'm hoping everybody ends up doing a good job. When had a great job when it came down to certain trades. Currently, right now, from the trades that we ended up talking about earlier this morning, I'm currently actually only in one. That is the Nas 100 trade that we ended up talking about. That had a big pop, or at least I thought was going to end up having a big pop. Currently, right now, we're starting to see that kind of play, or it started to be put into action. It took a while, but obviously, we ended up talking about how the market was going to end up being consolidated and actually closed a little bit earlier today as well. So we ended up going to that. With that being said, as we go through and get everything else situated, I've got to make sure that I end up talking about the disclaimer. Got to talk about what we end up going through and obviously the overall game plan. So I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education. And from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, like always, before we end up taking a look at anything, we have to be able to know what's going on with the economic calendar. I'm going to go through this briefly because we talked about this earlier this morning. And then after that, we'll review the trades that we end up talking about, the trades that we actually triggered in at this particular point. And for the people that are in the community that end up taking the trade, for the people that are first time watchers or long term listeners or anything else like that, once again, I do appreciate each and every one of y'all. Click on that boost button to be able to make sure everybody can be able to see it. And once again, celebrate your wins. If you have a win that you want to be able to talk about, place it inside of the chat box. It's always cool to be able to talk about wins. We end up, there's a lot of losses that we end up having. I would like to be able to talk about people's wins and everything else like that as well. So today, what we end up having was Swiss franc end up having a GDP. The GDP actually ended up going as scheduled. We take a look at what ended up happening with the retail sales from the eurozone. It actually ended up going down, so it was at negative 0.9. So uh, currently, right now, the eurozone is still getting pushed to its max when it comes down to the way that it's been weak. So we'll see how that kind of plays off. We talked about trades, but I don't think we triggered in anything. I think I ended up setting up something for Euro United States dollar, but we did not actually trigger in any type of trade, or at least I don't think a trade got triggered in. Um, but we ended up taking a look at that. So going into what's going to end up happening at 12:30 a.m., the Australian dollar can end up having an interest rate decision. Might be one of those things that we may end up taking a look at Austrian pairs and see what's going on with that. And then after that, the United States is going to end up having ISM services PMIs. I believe that the pound will probably end up being in consolidation on Tuesday, just because we know that there's going to end up being a monetary policy statement that's going to end up coming out. The eurozone can end up having a GDP on Wednesday, and then obviously we're going to end up having the interest rate decision for the Canadian dollar. So going into Wednesday's trading, obviously it'll be a little bit different, but obviously it's Tuesday. Now, what I'm going to end up talking about is the trades that we end up talking about. Let's go ahead and get into the one that we end up taking, or the one that ended up getting triggered in for us a little bit earlier today, which was NAS 100. NAS 100. The way they end up explaining this trade was that we end up having three trades. One, we end up seeing the block consolidation from that overall movement based off of the high volume node and everything else starting to pick up. But what I also ended up noticing was that there was a huge void in pricing when it came down to low volume nodes inside of this overall area, and that was from the 12,168 area all the way up to 12,280. So with that being said, because I ended up noticing that we was in consolidation, we were kind of in the middle. I felt like this was the only area where we end up having a reasonable trade to be able to get into because of that void of space. Um, with that being said, trade ended up getting triggered in. a couple times. The stop loss was at 12,096, which was below the point of control. So it gave us a risk reward factor of 1 to 2. Typically, I like being able to take ones that are a little bit higher than that, but beggars can't be choosers when it comes down to certain trades like this. Because if I would have placed it anywhere away from that area, then I probably would have got stopped out. But trade fell as low as 12,100, pushed all the way up. Finally ended up breaking, I want to say about an hour ago based off of that movement. I take a look at that trade and I kind of see where we actually are. That is the wrong chart. So let me get off of that. Take a look at where we are when it comes down to this overall move. Currently right now, up 300. Okay, let's do it in pips. I'm not going to talk about profit. It doesn't matter about the profit. Everybody's profit is different. Up 74 points on that move currently right now at this particular point. And I end up triggering in another one at 12,171. Currently right now up 51 points when it comes down to that movement. So about 100 points away. We'll see how everything kind of plays out. Hopefully we can be able to hit on both of those. That'll be definitely welcome for this account that I'm trying to grow. Obviously, I think everybody had that same type of feeling, but that was the trade that was triggered in. Once that trade ends up triggering in, there's really no more other trades that I would necessarily be interested in at this particular point. If I'm looking at this from a 15-minute perspective, I'm seeing that 12,246 is actually the position. I know that we left out of a high volume node, so I'm going to match up and say here and here. I think I got one that's getting out at 250, and I got another one that's getting out at 270. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Hopefully both of them end up hitting. The trail stops hit on both of them, so I know it's going to be a break-even trade. But I mean, it's going to be a profitable trade. But I just hope that it just finishes continuing on that move. Type in a wire yes if you're in the chat and you end up taking that trade from earlier today. If you did, congratulations. We are in a profit when it comes down to that move. All right, so let's talk about DAX. DAX was our most profitable pair last month. We end up talking about this possible move a little bit earlier. What ended up happening was that the market ended up breaking out of consolidation. When it broke out of consolidation, it gave us a positive move up to 12,827. Personally, I'm telling you, I did not personally take this trade. We planned it out, but I did not take the trade, unfortunately. But if I would have, the trade would have been done for that overall move. For the people that did, once again, congratulations to y'all for being able to take that trade. For some reason, I don't know why I didn't take it, but that was a quick 70-something points for his overall movement. I know why. Risk reward. The risk reward was off. It was a 1-to-1. But if you end up taking that trade, congratulations. There you go. That was another move that ended up happening based off of that. Let's go ahead and go to XVX 500. XVX 500, same deal. We have that same void of space. The market is moving up to 39.60. I did not place this in as a middle trade when it came down to this position, but if you're looking at it, pretty much all of them showed the same void when it came down to space. I'm not taking credit for the trade. I just want to talk about what ended up happening based off of this movement. Based off of where it would go, it's about a 20-point movement based off of where it is. So I would expect that the market will end up having a little bit of rejection up here at this point. Then after that, starting to push down a little bit. But once again, solid trade again. If anybody end up taking that one out of that break. Now, all of these pairs are still in consolidation. If you take a look at what's happening between all of these, you can see XBX in a block consolidation. We can see DAX starting to show a block consolidation. We're taking a look at what's happening with NAS 100 in a big block consolidation based off of the 3 different points of movements that end up happening from there. We did not talk about US 30. Let's get into US 30 real quick. Now, we still have these trades that we end up talking about on all of these pairs that are still active for its pending orders. Just have not got placed into those orders as of yet. So just going to sit on our hands and kind of wait for that. But same deal. You take a look at this one. Free run area based off of that. Push should take you all the way up to 31,628. Currently, there's about 100 points in this overall movement that is left. that you could potentially be able to go off of. I'm starting to see that the 15 minutes in the sell zone. Anytime that happens, it makes me kind of worry about the pair that I'm actually in, but every pair is a little bit different. I can see that the sellers are starting to take off the top of this overall movement. So the question is, are we going to end up seeing, because we already had a breakout and retest, are we going to see a true counter trend line break and a push down, or it's just a halfway point and now it's just starting to move to a point to where it may end up rejecting a little bit before trying to push back up. Um, it's always something that's a little bit tricky when it comes down to any trade that you end up taking, because the question is, because it's about to go to sleep, and I think everybody's about to, well, at least my time, everybody's probably about to go to sleep. The question is, do you go ahead and take that profit, um, and then after that, live to fight for another day, or do you push your stop loss back into a position to where um, you have risk that's actually involved with this? Typically, what I end up saying when it comes down to moving like that, you got to look and see what a market would potentially fall down to. Um, right here, I have one of the trades where the market will fall down to um, 12,175. 12,175 can easily be touched. Another one's at 12,166. 12,166 is a little bit below this overall point. So typically, when you look at this, and I'm talking this out because I'm trying to consider if I should just go ahead and take this win and just move forward, or if I should let it play itself out. But if you look at it, breakout retest, this is basically your B of that movement. If it falls down, it probably might end up retesting that B. If it retests the B, it'll go down to 12,172. So I can either do a couple things. If it goes down to 12,172, that makes that first trade break even. I can look at being able to get out on the first trade, and then after that, allow the second trade to be able to play itself out and take half profit. Or I can sit up there and push it back to where the stop loss where it was at the beginning, and kind of go from there. Or I can just get away from it and just wish for the best. I don't know. I make that decision. I make that decision pretty soon because I'm seeing a morning or evening start happen on the 5 minute. So I'll come back to that one briefly. That was the pairs that we end up getting into for its overall movements. Um, I'm probably going to do the half profit route. I'm going to take some of it now, and then after that, I take the rest of it. Hopefully, if it ends up going down. Either way, I know I'll make a profit. Either way, I know I'm making a profit tonight, and we'll kind of play off of it going into the morning time. But I think it still has some more room to be able to go. I truly do. That's the reason why I'm going to keep this other trade in. I just hope that it doesn't fall down to 12,166 and make this only a $12 win compared to what I have now. I'm doing that with a smaller account. My other account does not have a trail stop on it because I have a little bit more in that account. So I'm going to let that one kind of rock out and kind of play itself out from there. All right, so good to go. Let's go ahead and talk about, see what's happening with the big three. And if there's no questions about anything that is happening tonight, then I'll go ahead and call it a night and kind of move forward from there. So Euro United States dollar, very simple. Markets in consolidation. There's no move when it comes down to that. I'm going to stay away from that. We end up taking a look at what's happening with the big three. United States dollar index should be pushing up, and it keeps on moving up. And gold is still in consolidation, so there's no trade when it comes down to gold. Still staying away from that. We'll take a look at what happened with oil today. Oil end up having a slight push back up from the support of that overall move. Wouldn't surprise me if some people end up getting in just because the market end up hitting a natural support. So we'll see how everything goes from there. Even the Travis Dow, NASDAQ, SPX all green in the futures. Yes, sir. Steve, did you catch the one in the morning? Because we end up placing in a trade on NAS 100 currently in right now on that one. I still got it at 12,270, but if it keeps on wavering, I might especially if I'm up, I might end up taking profit on it early, and then after that, looking at being able to get back in. Um, but gotta have a little bit of faith. Let's see. So, no, I slept in this morning. I wish my body would let me do that. My body doesn't let me do that. My body says keep on going. Yeah, it says keep on going. Let's see. If you just got in, we end up talking about some of those a little bit earlier. So that may end up helping you out. If not, let me go ahead and talk about this Nas trade once again real quick. So market was in consolidation. We end up seeing two vortex areas that were basically at the same price. We end up having this large open when it came down to the volume node. So basically, we're attacking from this node all the way up to the next comparable node, which will probably end up being at you're good with 2 hours of sleep. Uh, Too off with those many traders in the morning. Maybe. um, so I'm saying that when the market ended up breaking out at this overall level, I expect that the market could go up to 12,270. That's what my trade plan is. And going from there, oh man, the kids do definitely have me trained. They wake up at dang on 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to jump on the bed, and kind of go from there. Now that little sis is there, they can't do that, but literally that's what it was cannonball pretty much every morning. Um, but 12,250 is the actual point um, where I would look at being able to definitely look at taking profit a little bit earlier. But I have it stressed out to 12,274. I have a trail stop on it on a smaller account. I got the other account that's kind of letting it ride out, kind of see what happens. I'm seeing that we end up having an evening star, which means that this candlestick right here is going to test it. This 5 minute may end up pushing down. If that happens and there's a true counter trend line break, then I would look at this being able to take profit early because we're trading inside of because at this point we're trading inside of the consolidation block. I don't like necessarily doing that, so I may end up looking at being able to take profit off of that, depending on it. But um, there we go from there. Um, with DAX has completed that move. XPX still has a little ways to go. US 30 once again still has a little ways to go for its overall movement on that one. So Steve, throw me a pair. Let's take a look at it. Throw me something to look at because I don't have anything else to look at. Pretty much I done talked about everything else. You got anything that you're looking at for the pair for us being able to get in? Throw something at me. Okay, Litecoin. Let's go and take a look at it. Ooh, good lord. I love when I see stuff like that. I mean, so we got some winners out here. Oh man, it, I don't trade. I don't trade cryptocurrency as much. Um, Probably should because it's pretty much the same. Um, but I just don't. I don't know why. Um, I take a look at that VOCN as well because I remember you talking about that one time before. Did it stay above 3? How much has it went above 3? Because I think the last time I took a look at it was above 3. So we're looking at it from a downside perspective. This market went A, B, C, went all the way up to the 8.6 and fell all the way down to 69.39. So that meant that the market is still in a R5 position. Now Based off of that, this was our fractal low right here. So if we're talking about if this market was continuing to keep on moving to the downside, 270 after Friday, you got in at 212 if I remember correctly. So did you stay in or did you pull the trigger? And was I right with 212? I believe it was 212. You got in at 208. Okay. So looking at this same move, I do expect that this market um, could at least push up to 140. That'll be the 382. But if I'm looking at Litecoin, just like kind of like what we end up seeing on most of these pairs, as we end up talking about tonight and early this morning, we got this large void space that is just right here that is just primed to be able to make a move. And I think that's the reason why you kind of seen that the market kind of made a little bit of a push up, because if it gets above $70, then there's a clear expectation that it could get up to 104 in a hurry, um, which would have me kind of, I would consider it more, me personally, for being able to make a move off of that. Um, so, Steve, answer this question: are you looking at getting in, or are you already in based off on a position? Are you looking at getting in and adding on more, or what's the deal? All right, so okay, gotcha. All right, so what was that? uh, $50 range. Okay, good. So in profit. There we go. That's all. That's a good starting point. Let's put it right there. Um, so naturally, we had this large box of consolidation. We can see that and spot that out by what's happening with the high volume node. When the market ended up breaking out, it ended up going into this void right here for its overall space, or that vortex area right there when it came down to overall space, push right up. And then once you end up having that one big push, you end up seeing consolidation start to happen all over again, right? Um, from here, take a look at what's happening currently right now with this particular position. And I'm going to go back to NAS 100 in a free second. I have a counter trend line break. I have no reason not to be able to take this profit right now and look at being able to get some a little bit later. All right, so bam, took out on that. My trap profit point hit. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. I'll give it a little bit more time on that one. Smaller accounts, sometimes you got to be in a rush, or you got to be more willing to be able to take profit and kind of get back in and be able to stack it. Um, Larger ones, you really don't necessarily care. Um, but like on, so consolidation ended up happening right here. Here's our natural support. Natural resistance was actually a little bit lower because you can see that it cooled up and got a little bit tighter. Like physical silver, to be honest, premiums, the premiums on that are crazy. All right, story time. So I've been building and creating um, automation systems for about 3 years, 4 years at this particular point. One of my most successful ones was I actually did not create it. I actually ended up purchasing it from a guy. They end up basically end up building a account from $1,000 to $200,000 trading gold, trading silver, trading euro, United States dollar. He ended up doing it by a multi-level grid strategy, multi-level. It was a scalping strategy. It was a whole bunch of stuff that was kind of mixed into one. I was interested in being able to buy it just because of seeing how powerful the movement actually was. Um, Now, the one thing that he told me not to trade was silver, and I never understood why he told me not to trade it. So me being the hard head that I was, the first thing that I ended up trading was silver. So gold was at a point to where it was just above. I think it was just above 2,000, and then after that, it started making that last little push before it fell down. And silver was making those movements too, but silver actually ended up making the first movement to the downside faster than what gold did. And because of how fast silver moves, I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Um, and that system literally almost wiped, or silver, that silver trade by itself literally almost wiped, I want to say 30% of my account in a 15-minute span. So, needless to say, I kind of got off of silver for a while when it came down to that. But looking at it now, I probably still would trade it. I just trade it in a different manner. So what I'm seeing now with Litecoin is that the market is primed and ready to go to be able to break out of 62. But until it truly and physically breaks out of 62 and kind of stays above, kind of like what ended up happening, um, it may end up going back physically into consolidation again. Now the daily is in a sell zone, so um, may end up seeing a little bit of consolidation that may end up happening. Um, no, physical. I do not trade paper metal. Oh, okay, okay, makes sense. But yeah, uh, that made me learn a very valuable lesson. GainesvilleCoins.com. Gainesville, Georgia, Gainesville, Florida, or this Gainesville as in just Gainesville, like a company. Gotcha. I don't know how LSU let Florida off the hook. I don't know that one. I don't understand that one. Um, yeah, it looks like right now it's kind of pushing down and may end up kind of pushing back inside of this consolidation. I would look at being able to add more on once you end up having a true and confirmed break out of 62, 62.14. Take a look at the premiums on American Silver Eagles. I'll write that down as well. That'd be one of the first. I'll take a look at that. I don't mind investing in much of anything as long as it turns back a return. But yeah, I would like to break out of $62. I would look at being able to take. I would look at being able to add on if that does decide to happen. We got to go back and take a look at the history and see where this could potentially go based off of that. I'm gonna go to a 4 hour, see if we can be able to see a little bit better. Once again, if it breaks out of this area, we just go just based off of. It can go to 64. It probably might halt right around 68, and then after that, as soon as it breaks 71, then that's when you had a big push. So make sure that I would say make sure that you load in everything before 70, 72, so you can be able to ride out that break and be able to get. You'll be able to double your money if you're about at 50s, and you'll be very close to being able to 2x your money once it ends up breaking up. Once it ends up getting to 99, based off of that movement. Question is it primed and ready to be able to make that movement? Obviously, you got to take a look at Bitcoin and everything else to be able to see, but that will be, I got to make sure I write that down. So pretty much anything from 60 to 70, I will look at adding on. You're kind of riding out from there. L VCN VCLN VOCN. Geez, VOCN. I still should have something on that from the last time we talked. Let's go to the 1 hour. I remember what I ended up saying. I said that I would think about it a little bit more for us being able to take a little bit of profit if the market ended up breaking the counter trend line break, because it said if it moved toward the inner, it was going to gravitate toward the outer. So um, currently right now, obviously the market's closed, but I do still expect that this market will probably end up tapping somewhere around this support that ended up happening right here, or that little mini pivot where you have resistance and then support. It might end up going back down to 250. I would be a little bit more worried if it breaks below 250, being honest. But 250 is the area where I think you'll start to see the bounce. If it starts to bounce up from there and stays positive, then after that you can continue seeing the market break and start to move. It's done tapped and used $3 as a resistance. Finally ended up breaking out at 343. The question is to see if there's going to be any other news that may end up allowing the market to be able to pop up and make that move to the upside. So if you're looking at anything else, it possibly may end up falling back down to 250. But from there, just let it play itself out. Obviously, you said it's a long-term trade, and I trust your judgment on anything that you're doing when it comes down to that. All right, good. So with that being said, I go ahead and close out today. Only trade that I was in was NAS 100. Ended up taking the trade. Currently, right now, when I seen that counter trend line break, I ended up taking profit. I think I might end up doing it with my other account as well. I would love to see this thing kind of play itself out, but I don't want to wake up to see that the market end up physically losing, because I done lost half of the value just by just being a little patient right here. I'll go ahead and take that profit too. All right, so there we go. So 2 for 2, 2 for 2 for today. It wasn't necessarily the greatest trading in the world, but 2 for 2 for today. And hopefully we can be able to get some better pushes. Probably going to be in this consolidation for a little while, so probably won't see a lot of trades on the indice pairs, but overall we'll try to find some more. You like what I end up doing, please make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button if I provide a value for you. For the people that will watch this a little bit later, thank you for being able to tap in. If you have any questions about being able to know what we do from a trading perspective, I'm actually going to end up creating a Discord community. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about that, I'll start dropping in the links from there. And also, you want to be able to hop into one of our free webinars that we end up having, where we end up talking about the Vortex trading strategy, along with all of our other automation systems and everything else. Just go to the private chat and just hit me up with a message and just inquire about it. We'll get you set up from there. Like always, plan your trade your plan, everybody. I'll see y'all in the morning. Take it easy.